Tonight, 4 members of the crew of the cargo ship Golden Ray remain unaccounted for. The ship now on its side in the waters of the St. Simons Sound.
The black smoke has ceased, but we are unable to determine specifically, without going inside, whether the fire has been completely extinguished.
And now, the search for those 4 will have to wait. Meanwhile, other challenges.
The second busiest auto port in the nation.
Business at the port itself on hold and concerns over the black fluid seen leaking into the water, making trouble potentially for the environment and the economy. Live team coverage is just moments away right now on First Coast News at 11. Good evening, I'm Heather Crawford, live tonight in Georgia at the St. Simons Island Pier. Now behind me, the cargo ship, the Golden Ray, is sitting tonight on its side in the St. Simons Sound. 4 crew members who the Coast Guard believes are still on that ship are at this hour unaccounted for. And I have to tell you, coming here and seeing just this massive cargo ship overturned in the water behind me is surreal. It's a sight that drew dozens of people here tonight to the pier so that they could see it for themselves. So I want to walk you through what we know at this hour. That cargo ship was loaded with more than 4,000 cars, and it had 24 crew members on it when it was moving out of the Port of Brunswick early this morning on its way to Baltimore. Now, it was around 2 a.m. that the distress call came in. The Golden Ray began listing and eventually came to rest on its side. Now, members of the U.S. Coast Guard managed to rescue 20 crew members by helicopter and by boat before a fire on board forced them to move back. This ship will now need to be stabilized before rescuers can get back on board to where those 4 crew members are believed to be. And tonight, the NTSB is leading the investigation into the cause of this disaster. And we have live team coverage covering all different angles of this story for you tonight. Jocelyn Howard is on your side, standing by with a look at the environmental impacts this is having. But I want to begin tonight with Kaylee Tracy, who's on your side live. And Kaylee, I understand you spoke to some of those who were rescued from this capsized ship.
Yeah, that's right, Heather. They are now resting at their hotel here behind me. But before that, they spent most of today at a volunteer group's headquarters here in the area. They were fed, they got clothes and hygiene supplies, and it was all thanks to the community.
Here's everybody.
Hotel drop-off is a little different today for Seafarers volunteer Rick Hendry. He's dropping off the 20 crew members who were rescued from this capsized cargo ship.
I wish we didn't have a ship sitting on its side. But, you know, the next thing that we did with everyone, you know, gathering together and trying to solve this problem as best we can, I mean, you know, that's the good part.
4 of the crew members are still missing.
We hope that there's just a really positive outcome for those people. And that's the gray shadow that's, you know, that's on all of this.
I rode with him as he dropped off those 20 crew members. They spent most of the day at the Port of Brunswick's branch of the International Seafarers, then went to the hotel.
You know, we're helping strangers when they're in a strange land.
It's a volunteer donation-based group that cares for anyone who may come through the port and needs food, clothes, or supplies.
You know, my wife and I slept in this morning and got there a little before 9 o'clock. So what we did was, you know, very minor, considering what support was given immediately.
Today, Hendry and his wife and others helped the crew members call and email their families, gave them toiletries, clothes, and food.
I mean, they walked in with nothing, and they walked out with enough clothes to take care of their immediate needs.
He's not sure if he'll see the crew members after this drop-off, but knows he'll never forget them.
Well, we're going to remember this for the rest of our life, but we're going to remember the guy we took to the emergency room. We're going to remember the little Swedish cadet that said, "You would give me this book?" I mean, what is more trivial? I mean, than giving someone a book. And yet, to them, it touched them to such a degree, and it touched me equally because of their reaction.
And I do want to mention a lot of those crew members who you saw in the video there, they were willing to tell their stories to me, saying that they were very exhausted, obviously very tired from today, and say they're extremely worried about the 4 that are still missing. But as we were actually setting up an interview with one of those crew members. He was sitting there ready to go, and we got word that the ship's owners said that we could not speak to those 20 who were rescued on camera. That's why you didn't hear personally from any of them, but they do say they are extremely worried about those 4 missing still. And also those volunteers say they've received several calls from people in the community just today asking how they can help. All of those resources that were donated to those crew members were donated by the community. For now, on the environmental impacts, I'm going to toss it over to my colleague, Jocelyn Howard.
That's right. The Coastal Health District has issued a swim advisory for both St. Simon and Jekyll Island. But although the environment is a huge concern here, the Coast Guard does tell me that the environment is a huge concern, but those missing crew members are their top priority.
First, I didn't think it was real. And my first concern was, gosh, were anybody missing? And then how much oil and fuel is on that boat.
That vessel holding thousands of cars carries an immense amount of fuel. Seeing a vessel that large toppled over in the inlet concerns people about how this may affect their beaches.
I hope they can contain it really quick. For the fish, for the dolphin, we have a lot of dolphin. There's a lot of sea life that we'd be really concerned about.
The Coastal Health District has issued a swimming advisory until more is known about that environmental impact.
My concern, if there was an oil leak, that could hurt someone, especially a child.
There's a lot of fuel on board the boat, which poses a hazard to the environment. That fuel appears to be pretty well contained right now. There's some light sheening, so we have a booming strategy in place.
The U.S. Coast Guard says this case is one of their highest priorities, not only for those missing people aboard, but also the wildlife that's surrounding this vessel.
We're bringing in people from all over the country. We're bringing in people from numerous federal, state, and local agencies to address this.
And that swim advisory has not been set to necessarily panic anybody, but simply because they don't know what is in the water, and it will be tested tomorrow. I did see a lot of surfers out, some kids playing out in the ocean. So they just say for this time, stay out of the water, and they will have that tested tomorrow and give you guys an update. Reporting in St. Simon Island, Jocelyn Howard, First Coast News on your side.
Jocelyn, Kaylee, thank you both. Now, this is also having a big economic impact on this community. The families who live and work on Georgia's coast, they're really losing money every second since this capsized Golden Ray has basically kept traffic at one of the busiest ports in the South at a standstill. David Jones continues our team coverage now.
Well, as they say, no ship, no pay.
Georgette Drafts, one of many locals who rely on the Golden Ray for work, now watching from the shore.
I called the job line and found out that the ship had canceled, and I didn't know what was going on because I was ready to go to work this morning.
Is the second busiest auto port in the nation.
The Port of Brunswick closed to marine traffic as the rescue operation continues. What does that mean? Operations at the #1 port for new auto imports are on hold. With new construction, Brunswick will soon have the capacity to bring in almost 1.5 million cars every year. The roll-on, roll-off terminal at Colonel's Island serves more than 60 auto and heavy equipment manufacturers, including luxury vehicles like BMW and Mercedes-Benz.
No work, no money, and I'm kind of upset, but I hope everybody's safe and okay and they got all the people out of the water. People in this community, in this town, in this country will be praying for all of us and those people that are on the ship, that they've come out safe and alive and be able to return to their families.
David Jones, First Coast News, on your side.
And be sure to stay with First Coast News for continuing coverage on the search for the missing and also the investigation into what went wrong. You can track the story every step of the way online at firstcoastnews.com and on our First Coast News app. And one more thing I want to point out, being out here tonight at the pier, I heard a lot of people talking, wondering if Hurricane Dorian maybe changed the landscape of the channel. Now, I reached out to the Coast Guard, spoke to a spokesman this evening who told me that the port was closed ahead of the hurricane, and before it reopened opened earlier this week, the Coast Guard, along with its port partners, surveyed the channel and found no obstructions and verified that it was intact and all was good. So what caused this cargo ship to capsize? That tonight we do not know, but everyone here hoping and praying that those 4 missing crew members will be found safe. That is the latest from the St. Simons Island Pier. For the rest of the day's headlines, I'm going to send it in to my colleague Jeff Fallon. Jeff?